For Comedy Hype News, I'm Tatiana LaJoy. Chris Rock's Bring the Pain was filmed in 1996 and released later that same year in June. This is Chris Rock's first hour-long special, and he didn't waste the opportunity, as it's been considered one of the greatest stand-up specials of all time. Not only did Rock receive a Grammy and 2 Emmy Awards for the special, but it was discussed on CNN, NPR, and debated by political experts several weeks after its release. Sound familiar?
In our country, you can shoot and kill a nigga, but you better not hurt a gay person's feelings.
An episode of the docuseries Culture Shock examined the impact of Bring the Pain. Chris was interviewed and he told audiences that a show he had with Martin Lawrence led to Bring the Pain. Martin and Chris were on a show together and Martin had the set of his life. The audience was so loud, Chris was backstage and he thought they were fighting, but Martin was just doing that well in his set. It's one of those things that made me realize I wasn't as funny as I thought I was. When you think you're established and you're not, I thought I knew comedy, and I didn't, and it's actually one of those things that led to Bring the Pain. Sometimes you need a key loss, and Martin Lawrence chin-checked me. Since that moment, Chris took stand-up very seriously, performing at least 3 times a night for 3 consecutive years, studying the greats where he learned more about having a strong stage presence. Chris started stalking the stage, running back and forth, he started yelling at the audience, he became a performer. If you look at Chris Rock in 1991 and look at him again in 1994, 2 completely different people. As a result of his terrible experience with Martin Lawrence, we got Bring the Pain, as well as one of the most famous stand-up comedy bits of all time, niggas versus black people. Here's why Chris Rock's niggas versus black people joke is so genius. Bring the Pain was performed in Washington, D.C. in front of a mostly black audience. He started off strong with a joke about the city's mayor who had been accused of smoking crack. He continued to win his audience over with jokes about O.J. Simpson, Bill Clinton, and debated who's more racist between blacks and whites. His act reached a climax with his famous joke, Niggas versus Blacks, that became one of the most prominent moments of his career. The joke started with the question, who's more racist, black people or white people?
Who's more racist, black people or white people? Black people. You know why? Because we hate black people too. It's black people and there's niggas. And niggas have got to go.
The Civil War is an appropriate metaphor since it's the largest and most destructive conflict in Western history. The division within the black community today could be considered just as dangerous. This civil war between black people is something that's been relevant to us for decades. Since slavery, there's been a divide between blacks, house niggas versus field niggas, light skin versus dark skin, etc. Malcolm X said it best in his parable of the house Negro. I mean, he would know since he transformed himself from a nigga to a black person, right? There are 2 kinds of slaves, the house Negro and the field Negro. The house Negroes, they lived in the house with massa, they dressed pretty good, they ate good because they ate his food. And if you came to the house Negro and said, let's run away, let's escape, let's separate, the house Negro would look at you and say, man, you crazy. What you mean separate? Where is there a better house than this? Where can I wear better clothes than this? Where can I eat better food than this? Niggas versus black people is the modern day civil war with niggas sharing house Negroes' ignorance and black people representing field Negroes. And we're all aware of the light skin versus dark skin battle. When pointing out this civil war, Rock is clearly talking to everyone except black people because this is something we all knew. To the average white person, there's no difference between black people. They had no idea we were divided. The crazy thing is, white people had no idea, but they're the ones that created this divide in the first place. This was a strategic divide that was created by white slave masters back in the day and is still very much relevant today. This may seem like new revelation to other races, but it's a familiar topic in our community and makes us rank this joke as one of the GOATs. Rock continued to build his case by showcasing the tendencies of niggas and referencing real-life scenarios of niggas being niggas. Remember what happened at the screening of Boys in the Hood in 1991? Violence broke out in several theaters nationwide, injuring at least 30 people.
Can't go to a movie the first week and come out. Why? Because niggas are shooting at the screen.
He went on to express how niggas love to take credit for the things that they're already supposed to be doing. Obama commented on the joke in his beloved speech on fatherhood, which he later revealed wasn't a part of his prepared speech. Chris Rock had a routine. He said too many of our men, they're proud, they brag about things that they're supposed to do. They say, well, I'm not in jail. Well, you're not supposed to be in jail.
I take care of my kids. You're supposed to, you dumb motherfucker.
Rock reminds us that niggas don't just exist in the black community. The part of the joke that mentions welfare proves that niggas can be in any other race that aligns with his perception of ignorance.
The whole rest of the country, the other 40 states, is filled up with broke-ass white people.
Who knew that the majority of people on welfare are white? In fact, in 1990, 66.5% of poor people were white, while only 29.3% of black people were living below the poverty level. White people also have niggas who can be classified as rednecks and crackers. There's also a famous saying that if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book. But where did that come from? It was illegal for blacks to read for a long time. Rock has a joke from his HBO special Never Scared called Who Taught You Octagon? It talks about how education could cost a slave their life.
Nigga, you see that stop sign? That stop sign right there?
Oh, do you mean that octagon thing?
Nigga, who taught you octagon?
The part of this joke that most of us can relate to is when he talks about not being able to play in the neighborhood as a kid because it was too dangerous. Parents were obligated to keep a tight leash on their kids to protect them from the dangerous niggas. Nobody knew black people didn't like certain black people. Rock gave voice to the people who think, y'all hate niggas, but we do too. It humanizes us as a people so other races can realize that we are multifaceted. Rock gave a voice to black people in the matter and gave the word nigga a definition. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, nigga originated as a variant of the infamous racial slur nigger, hard R, referencing one of its pronunciations, and for many people, it's an equally offensive word. In the late 20th century, however, the two forms began to diverge in use among some African Americans, with nigga becoming a preferred term for neutral and positive self-referential uses. So essentially, nigga is now an ambiguous term that can be used to insult a black person or as a term of endearment, which is certainly a contradiction. For a word with so much historical baggage, there has to be a better way to define a nigga, and Rock gave us that definition. In a racially sensitive climate, why did the 1990 audience not get offended by niggas versus black people? Respectability politics would accuse Rock of coming across as Uncle Tom for basically saying that in order for black people to succeed in America, they just need to act better, reaffirming what bigots have criticized African Americans for while ignoring systemic racism. Back then, Rock said what a lot of people can't say without being canceled. But did he only get away with saying it because this was before cancel culture existed? Because it's not always what you say, but how you say it, right? Attending a predominantly white public school subjected Rock to racial discrimination in his childhood. Enduring those experiences as a kid gave Rock the emotional intelligence to deliver this joke in a way that is still hilarious 2.5 decades later. The Atlantic featured an article by Ta-Nehisi Coates where he referenced Chris Rock's routine, highlighting how white people were laughing a little too hard at this joke, almost as if they were secretly saying, I knew it. Rock said, by the way, I've never done that joke again, ever, and I probably never will, because some people that were racist thought they had license to say nigga, so I'm done with that routine. What made this joke so genius is how Chris Rock became the representative for black people to argue the distinction between them and niggas. He also informed other races who may assume that black people are all the same by giving an insight to our culture that helps them realize that we are more diverse than what they have chosen to believe. An early 1990s story conducted by the National Opinion Research Center reported that non-black people believe that 78% of black people are more likely than whites to prefer to live off welfare. 62% said that blacks are lazy, and 56% said that black people are violence prone. African Americans are not all ratchet, lazy, and violent. We can also be educated, classy, and sometimes a little bougie. By giving a distinction between black people and niggas, Rock eradicated the blanket perception of black people by giving everyone an insight to our culture that was groundbreaking. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Stay up to date with the latest in news and comedy by subscribing here to our YouTube channel. Follow Comedy Hype across all social media and look out for original content on our new streaming service at comedyhype.com. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Tatiana LaJoy.